Yeah, it's working. Can everybody? Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Thijs van der Weijer. I'm from Bright Cape, where I'm leading the Process Mining Center of Excellence. Please let me know if the audio is bad, if you cannot hear me. Yeah, it's okay. Good. I'm here together with Bart Prudon. Thank you, Bart. Bart is from Medtronic. I'm really proud to be here together with Medtronic, one of our highly valued customers, where we implement process mining together. This is a success story based on true collaboration and partnership, which sounds quite obvious, but is in reality quite hard. Working together to go a longer way. How does it work? Actually, the collaboration started back in 2017, where we were having our own Celosphere, the Bright Cape Process Mining Seminar. We didn't have 600 customers, 75, still quite a lot. ABN AMRO, Shell, and Will van der Aalst, of course, keynote speaker in every process mining presentation. Medtronic was present here, and after this seminar, Medtronic approached us and asked us to be part of a selection process to enable full-scale global rollout of process mining. We were one of the candidates. We took Celonis with us. Celonis was one of the possible process mining solutions, and eventually we were selected. And actually based on two key elements that we share in our vision. Medtronic is about collaboration. We do things with our client, not for our client. Let me check how this works. Another key element is thinking big, starting small. You got a lot of information in the past few days. Probably the only thing you remember is this fishbowl. Then remember, think big, start small. What does it mean? Thinking big means when we first walked in the office of Medtronic, we were there with 10 executives and a couple more dialed in from abroad. Pressure was quite high, expectations were really high. Medtronic is a large global organization and was aiming to adopt process mining as a key methodology to transform processes, to improve processes. Thinking big means keeping all stakeholders at high level, but also across IT, BI, businesses aligned, aware of the possibilities. Also keep them patient. Do not start too fast. And that's what start small comes in. So starting small means, for us, selecting one process, a safe process, purchase to pay. Start with that. And take the time to train people, to create success stories, because you only have one shot at doing it right the first time. And that can be used as an example for all the other processes to mine. Also, it gives us a chance to bring in our best practices, tailor it to the culture of Medtronic, create our own methodology that works for Medtronic. You will see that later, as Bart will explain. Oh, went back. Thinking big, start small means also thinking advanced, but starting simple. Does it make sense to start prediction when the data quality is not good enough? These are actually the services that we deliver, but also the steps that Medtronic wants to make. Bright Cape is the guide and the data journey. Thinking big, start small also means for us, learn, embed, accelerate. This is our approach. Learn simply means doing the first process where we are in the lead. We bring in years of experience, dozens of implementations of projects. Gives us a chance, dear customers, to show you how we approach process mining. Next one, we do it together. And the third process, you're in the lead, and we're there to support only. I think a good consultant is there to make itself redundant. We don't want to stay there forever. I think it's as simple as that. This is the message that I have to convey. And I would like to give the word to Bart. Bart is process mining lead, the big sponsor of process mining within Medtronic. So Bart.
Okay, welcome everybody. Great to see that there's still some people who are interested to find out what we as Medtronic are doing with process mining. To be honest, I would have expected a bigger audience, because I think we as Medtronic, we have come up with a great approach on how we can actually realize that value. And the approach that we're following is based on partnership and collaboration, not just with our external partners, but especially within our own organization, across the different departments, across the different value streams and regions. If I would ask you whether you know Medtronic, you probably would know us because of the pacemaker. What did I do? Okay. You probably know us because of the pacemaker. But we as Medtronic, we do much, much, much more. We are the market leader when it comes to the medical devices worldwide. We're a huge company. We have about 86,000 employees. And one of the most strong things of Medtronic is our mission. It's alleviate pain, restore health, and extend life. And that's very powerful, and it's in the DNA of the company, but also in the DNA of the employees. You can feel it everywhere. And when I joined Medtronic about 4.5 years ago, we had a metric that we used. And that metric was, we save the life of one person every 3 seconds. Now, 4 years later, 4.5 years later, we still use the same metric, but now it's, we save the life of improve the life of 2 people every second. So that's over 70 million patients of which we improve the life. I think that's a very, very powerful metric. So what are we doing with process mining? We started about 1.5 years ago. We did a POC, proof of concept, and right after that we did a pilot. Both of them in the area of procure to pay, where we looked at the process of P2P and accounts payable. However, this was not a pilot just for the EMEA region or just for P2P. It was a global pilot. So when we started with process mining, we got several goals. One goal was do the technical implementation, like everybody else is also doing. But 2 additional goals were, make sure that you're able to actually drive the business value. It's not about potential, it's about realizing the value. And the other one was, make sure that you can scale it. It's not about having an approach that you can use in EMEA and P2P. No, it needs to be scalable across the different regions and value streams. And we focused on 3 different key elements. We think you need to have a purpose. You need to know why you're doing it. That's the first thing that you need. The other thing is you need to have the people. Process mining is a tool, Celonis is a tool. You need to have the people, they have to drive the results. And the last thing is you need to have a process. You need a structured approach to make it a success. Let me explain how we did it in the finance area, because our journey is based on partnership, and that partnership started about 2.5 years ago. We sat together with the finance functions, IT, and enterprise excellence. And we talked about how fast the world around us is changing, and how all these new technologies are impacting our own lives, but also how it will impact our daily job. And whether we as Medtronic are able to keep up with the pace of this constant change. And probably all of you are having the same challenge. The other thing that we talked about is that we as a company, and especially as a finance organization, are constantly being challenged to do more with less. Less resource, less money, less people. So we realized that we had to organize ourselves differently. We had to go up for a different approach. Not a silo-based approach, we had to work together. So we came up with a strategy, which we call Workload Management Evolution. And that's all about how we, as an organization, are going to get our people, our workforce, ready for the future. Because the way how we work together today will be completely different on how the future will look like. In the future, people, men, will work together with machine and all these new technologies. So we have been combining that. And that's the result that you see behind me. Just to give you a high-level overview of that, and of course, process mining is going to play a crucial role in this strategy. Whenever we get a request to improve the efficiency or the quality of a process, or we see an opportunity, we always start with a readiness assessment, and where we together determine what's the maturity level of the process and the organization. And based on that, we can select any of these solutions to implement, or even a combination of them. But you'll see that most of the issues that we're having, we can solve them just by optimizing the existing process. And that can be something really simple, like just talking to the people and educating the people, come up with a work instruction. In other cases, we might decide to further automate the process with help of the more traditional ways of working. For example, SAP, ReadSoft, Autobank, those kind of technologies. In case of large volumes, which are repetitive and standardized, we're going to robotize the process with help of RPA. And we can also make use of the whole technology suite of artificial intelligence. Think about predictive analytics, smart algorithms, but we're also looking into chatbots and virtual agents. So the future workforce within Medtronic will look something like you see over here. And this is going to help us to move in that direction. Process mining is crucial in there because in every phase of the implementation, it will add value. It will give you an idea of what's the current state of your process, what is the maturity level, where are the opportunities, and when you start implementing it, it helps you to identify whether you're on the right track and you get the results that you're looking for. And eventually, you want to have a sustainable solution. And we have been driving this strategy now within Medtronic forward together for the last 2 years. And that's very powerful. And it's very clear for everybody who's involved, even the employees. They know where we're going to. Like I said, the power within Medtronic of the approach is all based on collaboration. And we believe that it's based on 3 different pillars, 3 different departments that you have to bring together. We have enterprise excellence, we have BI and IT, and we have the business, the value streams. And they all committed to the strategy that we're following, so workload management evolution, but also committed to the initiative that we have regarding process mining. And that's real power. Because of that, you have your commitment. You need IT and BI because they understand the source systems, they understand the data, and they know how to get it out of the systems. It's crucial. Otherwise, you will never get the right data quality. You need the business because they have the strategic objectives, they have the interaction with the customers, and they feel the pain on a daily basis of the processes which are not being efficient or not having the right quality. And of course, if you start making the improvements, you need your subject matter experts because they understand the processes and they have to implement the process improvements. We have enterprise excellence or operational excellence. That's our Lean Six Sigma organization, and you need to have those because they make the difference because they drive the actual value realization. They're the ones who are driving it. And what we're doing in our approach, we're bringing all these 3 together in our process mining center of excellence. So we have representatives of all these different departments bringing together. And that's the true power of what we're doing within Medtronic. And how are we doing that? We're doing that based on a network organization. We don't have a process mining department. Maybe we'll get one in the future, but at this moment, it's all driven based on a network organization. We're bringing together people out of the organization who have a common interest, process mining. So if you would look at that, you see often that people and companies look at, should we have a decentralized model? Do we need to have a centralized model? We have a hybrid model based on a network organization. Very powerful. So in the middle, we have BI representatives, because they get the data out of the systems. We have the core process mining team, so data scientists, but also some people who know how to build the actual analysis. And we have enterprise excellence. And together, we determine the approach that we're following, the roadmap that we're following, and we have defined the standards of the analysis and the approach. But just as important, we have subject matter experts. You need to have them. So over here you see the value stream procure to pay, where we brought together people from purchasing and finance. So that's already an achievement within an organization like Medtronic, putting them together. And together with those SMEs, we're building the dashboards. Some of these SMEs have been trained as process mining analysts themselves. So together we built the dashboards. Those dashboards are the validated dashboards. We have also empowered them to, based on those dashboards, to build their own dashboards. They can build those as well. And if they think that is a good dashboard, they come to the central team, we look at it, and we promote it to a validated dashboard. And then it becomes a dashboard that everybody can use, and the data, it has been validated. We're going to follow the same approach across the other value streams, and we're going to bring them all together, and they're going to interact. So it's not centrally driven, it's not locally driven, it's based on a network model. In the next phase, we're going to involve internal audit. They can make use of the existing databases, of the data models. They can work together, again, with the network to start looking for the value for their area. Then we have a lot of different IT departments, just a few over here. Crucial, data security, data privacy. We're a healthcare company, so, by the way, we're on-premise for the time being. All the information is on our own systems. Just as important, BI and advanced analytics. We did some testing with Python integration to see what we can do with predicting double invoices. So they're also part of the network. We involve them as well. Just as important, external partners, like we have Brightcape, who is our implementation partner, but also Celonis and local universities. We're working with them together. They bring in knowledge, we share knowledge with them. And I'm going to skip this one. We have one really good thing within Medtronic, and that's we have a very strong continuous improvement organization and a drive for continuous improvement. If you look, at least at the EMEA region, almost every employee within Medtronic is trained in the basics of Lean Six Sigma. So we all follow the same approach. And I don't know whether people know DMake, but DMake is a structured 5-step approach to solve complex issues. And you follow that structured approach step by step so that you get a good end result and that you implement a sustainable solution. Because that's what you want. You want to have results and you want to have sustainable results. So, and I think if you look at Lean Six Sigma DMake, in combination with process mining, that's definitely a win-win. That's a marriage made in heaven. It's perfect. So what do we do for every use case that we have? We create a so-called A3, and an A3 is an A3 paper, with lots of slides behind it. And in there you have the 5 phases of the DMake. And we use that for every use cases. But you will immediately see that every use case is too big, so then we split the A3 in multiple smaller A3s so that you can implement them step by step by step. So we cut it in little pieces. And this approach is being driven by our Enterprise Excellence organization. Together with the SMEs and the people from IT, who all have been trained in Lean Six Sigma basics. Okay. One of the challenges that we had is, although process mining is a focus area within Medtronic, the people who we needed, they're not dedicated, assigned to process mining. They have other projects as well. Myself and the data scientist, they were dedicated working on process mining. All the other people in the network model were not. So we needed to make sure that we got a focus and that we got the collaboration going. How did we do that? We followed the so-called Kaizen approach. And so what did we do? We made sure that we had 1 week, which we called the Kaizen week, and everybody was available for, let's say, at least 80% of their time, and they were working on process mining. By the way, not on creating of the dashboards. That was already done in the preparation phase. It was all about doing the analysis and creating the A3s, so the DMakes. We had a focus. We had a focus week, and after that focus week, we had 3 weeks in where enterprise excellence and the subject matter experts would reach out to the other SMEs in the organizations and in the countries by doing deep dives on the data to have them validate the data, and they would start on driving the improvements based on the A3 methodology. And what we did in parallel, we started looking into the next Kaizen week. What are we going to do over there? It could be that we would explore the existing use cases, could come up with new use cases, or we could create new dashboards or make variations on existing dashboards. So far, so clear? Good. And it's no rocket science. It's a pretty simple approach that we're following, and apparently we're pretty successful with that one. Let me see. Okay. You can imagine that if you're working on a Kaizen week, and you're also looking at the next Kaizen week, and you have to do your A3s, and you have to build dashboards, and you have to solve issues, and make changes in the data models, and you have to do the documentation and the validation, and you name it, that's pretty complex. And we had a small team, a maximum of team, you can see over here, we're still missing a few people, but on average it was a little bit less that we had in the room. So we had to come up with an approach where we could get the right focus. So what did we do? We introduced some elements from Agile and Scrum. I'm not saying that we're working Agile and Scrum. We don't have a dedicated team. We didn't have the time to learn it. But we took some elements. So we asked a Scrum Master, pulled him into the network, and he was helping us. So what did we do? First thing, put everybody in a project room. So people were sitting together, cross-functional. So when senior management stepped in, they were looking, what's happening over here? I see people from business, accounts payable. I see people from purchasing. I see IT people. I see enterprise excellence. I see a data scientist running around. They looked at it and thought, whoa, this is not what we normally do. So we claimed the project room for several months, and we were sitting there together whenever we could, during the Kaizens, but also in the weeks after the Kaizens. And we introduced Scrum boards, or Kaizen boards, and we made a variant on it. Why? Why did we need that? We created user stories, and a user story that could be a use case, or a dashboard that we were building, or it could be one of the A3s. So let's start with the A3s. So what we did, we prioritized all the different A3s, the DMake A3s that we wanted to implement. We put them on there, and we said, okay, this is what we're going to work on. Then we had the different phases of the A3s, so you could see in which phase is the A3 currently. And that gave us a good overview of what we're working on. Besides that, for the A3s, we also had a task board. And on the task board, you could see all the activities of which we thought about, these do we need to do. You could see what activities are still open, which one are still done, and which one are we working on. And that gave us a good overview of the workload, of where we should focus on. And every time we were struggling with something on one of these user stories, use cases, we would flag it with a red post-it, and then we could try to solve it. Because if you didn't solve the red post-it, at the end, you would not get the results you were looking for. You would not have the A3, or you would not have your dashboard implemented. All the red flags needed to be away. We did the same for the execution task board and storyboard. Execution is everything that was related to not related to the A3s. So that could be building a dashboard, doing something in a data model, doing data validation. All these things were over there. And it was very, very powerful for us. And we had our daily stand-ups. So every morning, everybody was there or by phone, and we looked at, hey, what did you do yesterday? What are you going to do today? And what challenges are you running into? Even the people who are not working full-time on the project, or were not even doing any work on that day, they were still there. And you got a really good overview of what people were working on and where they were struggling with. And that was the collaboration that we had across the different value streams. And besides that, another big paper on the wall, which was our value tracker. And on that value tracker, per A3, was child A3, we would track how it was linked to the strategic objectives, just as a reminder, that was really important. And we tracked the potential value and the realized value. It was all there. And that was a real boost for the team, because you could see, hey, what we're doing over here behind us is a tough job, but you could see the results coming in already. And that was nice. That was a good feeling. And besides the hard benefits, as the dollars, we also started looking into the soft benefits. Is this making our internal customers happy? The vendors, how about the employees? Because also those things are actual value for us as a company. It's not only about the hard savings. So, we're back to this slide. Summary. So the challenge that we got, make sure that you got a scalable solution, not only technical, but also as an approach, and make sure that you can prove that you get value out of it. And we did that by purpose, people, and process. And remember, purpose, it was about linking it to the strategic objectives that you have, and make sure that you focus on what is important for the company. We did that, for example, within the finance area with workload management evolution. How will the future workforce look like? People, it's all about the triangle of partnership and making sure that you empower the people who are actually working on getting the value out of Celonis. And we have the process. We follow the DMake approach within Medtronic, and we had the Kaizen approach with some elements from Scrum and Agile in there. So that's the total approach that we had in a nutshell. I'm not going to talk about, people say, purpose, people, process. How about systems and data? Yes, that's also crucial, but that's more related to the technical implementation. Well, value. Not too much details on that, but we divided it in 5 different buckets. The 5th one is the soft benefits, and the other ones are related to the working capital, workload reductions, actual cost savings, and compliance. And just keep in mind that we did this with a part-time team. We did it for 2.5, 3 months of actual looking at the analysis and realizing the value. And we were able to identify a total value of 15.4 million. Pretty good, I would say, for an P2P process, and only focus on EMEA. And we already realized in those 2.5 months 1.2 million. Keep in mind, there's people who have just been trained on process mining, a team that was just working together. And this really convinced Medtronic to continue with Celonis process mining, but also to continue with the approach that we currently have. So, where are we right now? And what will be our roadmap? So what we did, we looked at procure to pay. And if you look at the systems that we used, it was SAP, ECC. We used SAP SRM. And we had a look at ReadSoft. ReadSoft, for the people who don't know, that's the scanning of invoices and the workflow that's behind it. There's a whole approval workflow. So 3 different source systems. I must be honest, ReadSoft is actually an add-on on SAP, so the data is in SAP, but it's not standard. So there was an additional challenge for us to get that out. What are we going to focus on within that same area? Rolling out this pilot globally, we go to the US and APAC. That's the first thing we're going to do. We're also going to focus on the global finance transformation program. A lot is changing within Medtronic, and process mining is going to be part of that one. It's going to support that transformation program. And last, but definitely not least in that area, SRM, SAP SRM, is going to be phased out and going to be replaced by Ariba. Actually, it has already been replaced last month within the EMEA region. We have to extract that data as well and get it in. And we want to have that all in one data model so we can compare SRM with Ariba. Then in the other areas, we have got a lot of different opportunities. I think the most important one for us is a huge transformation program within Medtronic related to offer to cash. So not order to cash, offer to cash. That's actually everything from lead management until getting the money. It's a huge transformation program. Process mining is going to help in there. But again, we're going, like Thijs from Brightcape said, we're going to start big, but think small. And we're probably going to focus on the OTC flow, just the standard flow, not the returns, not the consignment, but that flow. Maybe even service and repair, because they did already a lot in that area with their own databases. We're going to focus on outbound logistics and warehouse management, and eventually, OTC and outbound logistics, that comes together. So that's going to be a lot of opportunities for us. We're going to focus on first-time right delivery, the lead times, the OTIF, on touchless order processing. And in other areas, we're going to focus on the auditing part, because there are lots of opportunities over there. So they're excited to join us in our journey. And we're going to work towards a global center of excellence. And where that journey is going to end, I don't know, but I think we put a pretty good foundation in place that we can use to further scale. Looking at the approach, again, that we followed, so we were able to achieve the business value, stakeholders were happy, we came up with a scalable approach, and what we also believe is that process mining and the approach that we are following is going to help us to establish that continuous improvement culture, what we really would like to have for Medtronic. Because what we're aiming for is improve everybody every day. That's what we would like to have for Medtronic. Well, then I would like to thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, just feel free to reach out to myself or to Brightcape, for example, to Thijs. And we're open for any questions.
Hi, just a quick question regarding the engagements of the people that are from the business units. And during those 3 weeks, how did you deal with that? So because those people have another function, other things to do as well. Mm-hmm. And so do you have some kind of sponsorship, top-down approach, something like that?
Exactly. We got top-down sponsorship. So we went all the way up to CFO level, all the way up to CIO level to present what we're going to do. And they gave their commitment. And based on that commitment, we're able to do what we did. And still, you have a lot of different priorities within the organization, but it's all about having the commitments from the right stakeholders. And we got the right stakeholders on board. We even got a steering committee with people in there and made sure that they were making sure that we got the people that we needed.
So that will be the think big part. Yeah.
Any other questions?
So it was a really clear story? Oh, okay. Eva-Jan, sorry.
Thank you for your presentation, very valuable, and focusing on value, which I think is good. I've got 2 questions. One is, against the value there's a cost. Where's the cost currently taken, and do you have any plans to charge the business for the work that you're doing? Mm-hmm. And the second part, are you using, say, global process owners that really also have a role to play in, see, defining the standard or adjusting the standards on the basis of your findings?
Yeah. Let me first answer the first question. So that's about who took the cost. What do you think? I can already tell you. It's essentially we did it together. So because it's new, it's innovative, we split the cost. So partly taken by IT, partly taken by the business side. And when the business side was really, EMEA took the full hit for this one. And eventually, we're going to allocate some of these costs whenever we start rolling out process mining to the other areas. So they get a small piece of it, and eventually we divide the burden. So if you look at, do we have business process owners? When I joined Medtronic, I was really surprised that we did have process owners, but they were on IT side. So there were IT process owners. And on the business side, we are setting them up. So that's a process we are currently in. However, if you look at the people who are part of this project, this initiative, you could say they're more like process owners. So we've got the regional CFO who's helping us, the people from the shared service center, the director over there. So those people are actually helping us with this one, because they're the ones who actually have to do the improvements. So we have the mandate, if that's answering the question. Yeah, without mandate, it would not work.
Excellent presentation. Congratulations. So
Thank you.
My question was regarding from the Kaizen sessions that you had, from value identification to finally realization, on whose bucket of responsibility does that lie, and who was driving it with the process to get this implemented?
Yeah, good question. What we see is the responsibility is on business side together with enterprise excellence. They drive it together. It's enterprise excellence who makes clear, okay, these are the commitments that we're making and that you are making as business. This is the path that you should follow to do it, and it's about for the business to realize the value. And if they're not realizing it, they signal and say, okay, we're not doing what we're supposed to do. Because if you would have an area and you come up with lots of improvement potential and they don't do anything with it, the enterprise excellence organization stops helping you. Then you're on your own. And then the triangle would not be there anymore. So enterprise excellence helps you, supports you with the change management, but they're the ones who need to realize it.
So what kind of profile of employees are there in the change management organization that you have in the triangle?
Yeah, that would be we call them the Lean Six Sigma consultants. So there can be a green belt, black belt, and in our project ourselves, we made sure that we had the involvement of one dedicated black belt, and he was also supported by another black belt. So, because they are key for what we're doing. Is that the answer you were looking for?
Thank you.
Good.
Any other questions?
Firstly, thank you very much for a really valuable presentation.
Thank you.
I have one question regarding generating values.
Could you hold the mic a little bit
Okay.
close to you? Thank you.
I have one question regarding generating values. You found some insights after that Kaizen week period. What about that continuous improvement? How you deal with that? Do you keep those business viewers still hot, like sending them some news, still trying to get them to find other improvements, or was it just like done once and?
Yeah. It's going to be a continuous process that we have, and what we're now looking into is how we're going to continue with this one. Do we keep on continuing with these Kaizen weeks, this Kaizen approach, or not? How it looks now is that, at least for finance, we're going to make it part of the transformation programs. And in there, probably we will follow the same approach with the Kaizens. Eventually, it should be part of the continuous improvement organization. And within Medtronic, we have a methodology around that. We have translated all our strategic objectives all the way to the individual departments and people. So they know how they can influence the targets which are set on a high level. And what we're aiming for, and we're trying to find out how we're going to do that, is to make process mining part of that. So that could be that you come up with some KPIs around your process, that you as an individual know how to influence that one. And then eventually it will again be about empowering the people to make the improvements themselves. It should not be driven top-down or out of a center of excellence. No, we want to involve the people, make them part of a journey. So our user base will grow as well. Maybe with viewers, maybe with analysts, time will tell. But that's a really good question, because that's what we're now talking about, especially with enterprise excellence and business. How can we do this?
Maybe just let's recap it. You deliver the tool, the platform, and then you can add like one KPI regarding innovation, so they feel like responsible for it and they can use it.
That's what you would like to do, exactly.
Could you please mention some of the concrete findings based on which you have been able to realize the value?
Yeah, I can. I'm not able to, because I don't have that. I should pick that slide. So things that we found, and most of them are really eye-openers. And let's talk about the one that we already realized. What we noticed is that Medtronic, most of our invoices we receive digitally. So we receive an email, for example, and that should be sent to a central email box, and then we pick it up over there. And leadership thought that all of the invoices would go there. Maybe a slight amount would skip that one. But we found out, and it was one of the first eye-openers, that 50% of all the invoices were not sent to that email box. They were still sent to the old address, which was somewhere locally within the different finance organizations. So one to Turkey, one to Israel, you name it. Everyone was receiving the invoices, and then locally they would do nothing with it, or they would submit it directly to that email box, or they would wait a couple of days or even weeks, and nobody was aware of that. So that was one of the things that we found. That was a real eye-opener. What we also did, we noticed that we have ReadSoft, and ReadSoft you have a workflow, and people were triggering all kinds of workflows, which they were not supposed to trigger, and eventually nothing happened with those workflows. So people picked up the workflow, looked at them, and tried to do something with it, but somebody else, again, canceled it because it was no longer needed, and we found out there was so many different workflows which were not adding any value, so people needed to be trained. What we also did is we looked into integrating with Python. So we found a lot of duplicate vendors, not really value for us, but we experimented with that as well. And we noticed that we had about hundreds of vendors which existed in the system twice, although with a different number. We used the fuzzy search option for that one. And we did the same for invoices. And we found out that a lot of invoices were, for some reason, scanned twice. However, they were never recognized as the same invoice, so they were posted. So, for example, the reference number, a mistake was made, an 8 became a 0, and 7 was a 1, and we were paying these invoices even twice. And that's not something you want. And that's not really process mining which you're doing it, but it was our data set and our approach and our testing that we found these. And Celonis will say it is process mining, but we're having internal discussions. We call it more like the actual data science part. But what we're now doing with these is trying to find out why are we getting these duplicate invoices? What happened with the invoice processing process that we have these duplicate invoices? Is there time in between? We don't know what it is. We're looking into these. And if you want more examples, we found out that every purchase requisition, every shopping cart should be initiated out of SRM. However, we do have some exception flows where you can start in SAP, and certain countries were bypassing the standard process, and they were creating them directly in SAP. So, and while they were doing that, they were even using the wrong type. And by doing that, the whole approval flow was being skipped. And they could even create it once, and then increase the value later. And so if you look at compliance, those were things that we identified. And that's not something that I myself, for example, if I would be the data scientist, look at the data, I would never find that. It's the subject matter expert who can find it. So just some examples.
I think that's all the time we have, so if we can give another round of thanks to our speakers.